quiet suburb of Enfield, North London, one ordinary family home became the epicenter of a paranormal phenomenon that would captivate the world. Over the course of months in the late 1970s, inexplicable voices, disturbing apparitions, and intense poltergeist activity transformed a modest house into one of the most notorious hauntings in modern history, the Enfield haunting. This is the story of terror, mystery, and the enduring search for truth behind these chilling events. It began in the mid-1970s with the Hodgson family, who moved into a typical suburban home in Enfield. But soon, a series of unexplainable occurrences shattered their sense of normality. Strange noises in empty rooms, objects moving without cause, and most disturbing of all, disembodied voices speaking in eerie whispers.
I could see the fear in some of their faces also, and they probably could sense that we was dead scared and wanted to run out any minute. I know I did. My sister did, I know that.
I remember one of them came in and he explained to me that I'd got a poltergeist in the house. And I said, what on earth's that? And I nearly fainted when he told me. I didn't even know what it was. In fact, I don't think any of us did.
And we couldn't even say the word poltergeist until Mr. Groves from the Psychical Research explained how to say poltergeist.
That's me.
and also what it actually meant in, was it German? Was it?
Yeah, poltergeist, noisy
spirit. In the meaning
of
it also, which he explained to us.
What do you say to people who say to you, with you children playing around, what do you say about that?
I say that's a matter of opinion. If you haven't experienced it, you're going to say that. But it did really happen.
It upsets me deep down to think that they can't give us an open mind, the ones that just put it down completely.
Local residents would later recount similar experiences, fueling rumours that something sinister had taken hold of the house.
The police definitely wanted to get out of the house.
How could you tell?
They was as frightened as I was. And then the second night we went back in there again, and we got the same reaction again. We got this knocking, and then to see a Lego. I witnessed a box of Lego underneath a chair, but I walked into the room. As I walked into the room, the Lego began to fly. But where it was coming from, I don't know. One piece hit me on the arm. And,
did it hurt?
Oh, it brought a lump up. It caught me on the elbow and it brought a lump up. And as I
one
say,
tiny little piece?
One tiny little piece of Lego. Now, it's not much bigger than a 3/4 inch. But it caught me on the elbow. And as I say, it brought a lump up.
I got hit in the eyebrow, just in the forehead with a Lego brick.
I can remember that very well, hitting him on the head.
Which is nothing, but it's sharp, and when it's travelling at that sort of speed, it certainly made a mark for a few days. Lego brick 1 minute, might be an ashtray, might be a knife and fork, and we were going around trying to put things away, put them away in drawers to stop things from flying around, and it was weird.
It came off the floor, or nearly a ½ inch, I should say, and I saw it slide off to the right, about 3.5 to 4 feet before it came to rest. I checked to see whether or not it could possibly have slid along the floor. I placed a marble on the floor to see whether or not the marble would go in the same direction as the chair did, and it didn't roll at all. I checked for wires under the cushion of the chair, and I could find no explanation at all.
Psychologists and paranormal investigators were soon drawn to the case, eager to document these strange phenomena. Over several months, the Enfield haunting escalated. Family members reported not only auditory phenomena, but also physical manifestations, a heavy, oppressive presence and sudden cold spots that sent shivers down the spine. Experts in the field have long debated the source of these occurrences. Some suggest a residual haunting, a replay of traumatic events, while others argue for an intelligent, conscious spirit. The voices, sometimes pleading, sometimes mocking, have left investigators with more questions than answers.
So what else happened? What else do you remember of that time?
Furniture turning over, cups filled with water, fires igniting on oven gloves, and matches where part of the box or the oven glove would burn but it would go out. Voices, levitation, and at one point the most frightening thing was when a curtain wrapped itself around my neck next to my bed.
One of the most compelling aspects of the Enfield haunting was the consistency of these phenomena. Witnesses described shadowy figures moving at the periphery of their vision, and the voices were often recounted in similar tones and cadences.
I suppose that one of the most extraordinary things about the whole case was the voice. Now, this voice was quite something. And how it started was this. On December the 10th, 1977 we're talking about, I was sitting in the room, in the front room there, downstairs, with the mother and the children, and we were just talking, and suddenly there was whistling and going on. And I thought, that's funny, it's very sophisticated whistling. The children can't whistle like that. It sounds like the whistling that Mr. Nottingham does. He whistles quite a bit next door, but he's not there, he's at work. I thought, crazy. Suddenly a dog barked in the room. Fine, a dog barked in the room, but there was no dog there. I thought, well, you know, this is even crazier still. And I began to think, you know, okay, it can whistle, it can bark, and things began to turn around in my head. And it went on quite a bit.
These teenage sisters believe they're haunted by a poltergeist.
I was going to ask the same question as I asked earlier. How many voices are there?
600.
600 the voices.
I know the joke.
How many really are there, Margaret?
I think so far we've had 10
Three.
Sensible voices, but the rest of the names are absolute rubbish.
All the lights gone out. Wait. He's squeezed the light out.
Throw the lamp
on the head.
right way across the room and pulled it out of the socket.
Quick, turn the lamp off. What's on the Mum's laughing.
No, it's him.
Oh, what's that?
The slipper was thrown across the room and hit the door
not my one.
as I was holding the door.
My one.
The white slipper hit the door as I was holding the door.
He hit me on the leg. Where's the other one?
The other one's over here.
As the haunting gained national attention, the Enfield community found itself at the centre of a media frenzy. Neighbours reported unusual activity beyond the haunted home, strange lights in the night sky, whispers in the wind, and an unsettling atmosphere that seemed to affect the entire neighbourhood.
And we was all just standing in the kitchen, all of us together. And then all of a sudden a pool of water come from nowhere in the middle of the floor in the kitchen. And then we heard the toilet chain pull, and there was no one at all out in the toilet. We was all in the kitchen. And the door opened in the toilet, then the chain went, and as we walked out there, the toilet brush came from the thing what it was in, the container, and the brush just come up and settled on top of the toilet. Just like that, as if someone had just got in there, pulled the chain and then took the brush up and to wash the toilet. And the doors, well, and then the bathroom door opens, and the kitchen table has just tipped up. And there's Janet, one of the girls, she's been just sitting on a chair and she's been thrown completely across the room.
The phenomenon raised questions about the intersection of mental health, environmental factors, and the supernatural. Researchers have since studied the Enfield case as a landmark event in modern paranormal investigation. The Hodgson family, Peggy and her 4 children, claimed they were under siege by something unseen, something that defied explanation. What followed would baffle police, attract paranormal investigators from across the UK, and ignite a media frenzy that divided the nation. Was it a genuine haunting or an elaborate hoax? On the night of August 30th, 1977, 11-year-old Janet and her sister Margaret heard loud rapping sounds from the walls. As the knocking intensified, furniture began to slide across the room, seemingly on its own. Word of the haunting spread fast. The Daily Mirror sent journalists and a photographer to document the strange occurrences. Their cameras captured what appeared to be Janet levitating, thrown from her bed by unseen forces. The Society for Psychical Research assigned Maurice Grosse, who had recently lost his daughter, and writer Guy Lyon Playfair to investigate. They would spend over a year documenting hundreds of events. Grosse heard knocking, saw objects flying. He reported that he saw marbles flying across the room with no force behind them, spinning mid-air, not bouncing. It defied physics. Grosse even recorded voices, deep, guttural ones coming from Janet, which she could not replicate consciously.
I'm invisible. You're invisible? Why are you invisible? Because I'm a G-H-O-S-T.
During their investigations, the team recorded numerous EVPs and caught fleeting images of shadowy figures. Some even reported feeling an unseen force, a chilling presence that seemed intent on communicating its message.
Come on, let me hear you say my name. That's not my name. Come on, my name's Morris. Let me hear you say it. Morris. I'm happy to you know. I come from doing halfway down. And I had right near the church where we live. And all my friends come from there as well. And we all make okay and go to the park. And then we walk with big your house. But I used to live here. And I will tell this a lot. And if you don't let anyone else, respect Miss Hunt and Mr. Playback.
As the media circus grew, so did the skepticism. Critics accused the children, especially Janet, of faking the phenomena for attention. There were inconsistencies. Janet admitted at one point to playing tricks, but then would claim the real activity was still happening. It muddied the waters. Janet did admit that they did mess around a bit, but not all of it was fake. Things really happened, things she couldn't explain.
Now how can we shoot you if we can't see you, Bill?
Praying to God.
Sorry, I didn't hear that, Bill.
I'm praying to God.
By praying to God. So, what you're saying is we couldn't get rid of you by praying to God.
Yes.
American investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren were not officially part of the Enfield investigation. They visited briefly, uninvited, during the height of media attention, but their presence was not welcomed by the main investigators. Guy Lyon Playfair and Maurice Grosse was openly critical of the Warrens. In interviews, and in his book, This House is Haunted, Playfair said Ed Warren showed up uninvited and was only interested in making money from the case. Playfair recounted that Ed Warren suggested writing a book or movie deal, despite barely observing the phenomena themselves. The Warrens' visit was likely brief, a matter of days at most, and they did not conduct any long-term study or contribute to the documentation of the haunting. The events of Enfield are frequently referenced in paranormal documentaries and remains a staple in ghost hunting circles. However, the case is often studied in terms of mass hysteria, family trauma, and media influence. Some scholars believe the haunting was a subconscious response to emotional stress, particularly in a post-divorce low-income household. Others explore the idea of a tulpa phenomenon, a thought form created by belief and attention. Whatever the truth of the case is, the Enfield poltergeist is often used as a case study in both paranormal research and debunking efforts, highlighting the need for skepticism, balanced with an open mind, especially when investigating claims involving children and highly emotional environments. While the investigation did not yield a definitive explanation, it confirmed that the phenomena were not isolated incidents. The Enfield haunting remains one of the most perplexing and well-documented paranormal cases of its time. Decades have passed since the Enfield haunting first captured the public's imagination. Yet, the legacy of those events continues to influence both local folklore and the field of paranormal research. The haunting has sparked countless debates, inspiring books, documentaries, and even fictional adaptations that attempt to unravel its mystery. The Enfield case stands out due to the sheer volume of evidence collected, including audio recordings, photographs, eyewitness testimony, including police, and hundreds of hours of logged activity. Both Maurice Grosse and Guy Lyon Playfair claim to have documented over 2,000 incidents during their investigation, making it one of the most thoroughly observed hauntings ever. However, the case continues to divide believers and skeptics. Believers cite the multiple credible witnesses, including journalists and police, unexplained recordings, like the Bill Wilkins voice, and the long duration of activity as signs of authenticity. While skeptics argue that the children, particularly Janet, faked much of the activity, pointing to her own admissions of mucking about and videos that appear staged. The truth remains unresolved, which keeps the mystery alive. The Enfield poltergeist case has inspired numerous books, TV shows, podcasts, and films, most notably Hollywood's The Conjuring 2, which heavily dramatized the case, linking it to Ed and Lorraine Warren, though their real-life involvement was minimal, as well as a Sky TV miniseries, The Enfield Haunting, which was a more grounded dramatization starring Timothy Spall. Eventually, the media left. Grosse and Playfair moved on. The Hodgson family stayed in the house for several more years, and the activity slowly faded. Margaret claimed that the activity never really stopped, not completely, but they learned to live with it, or ignore it. For the Hodgson family, the ordeal left scars that would never fully heal. For the community of Enfield, it became a legend, a cautionary tale of the past that still whispers through the halls of an ordinary home, turned extraordinary by the supernatural. Today, Janet Hodgson, who was at the center of the case, has spoken about how the experience impacted her life, both mentally and emotionally. She has remained relatively private, but maintains that much of what happened was real, even if not all of it could be explained. The family never made significant money from the haunting and lived with its stigma long after the activity died down. Whatever you believe, ghosts or hoax, it's undeniable something happened in that house. Nearly 50 years on, the Enfield poltergeist remains one of the most documented and debated hauntings in history. Was it a genuine case of paranormal activity, a cry for help from a troubled family, or the product of media frenzy and youthful imagination? To believers, it stands as chilling proof that something beyond understanding took hold of 284 Green Street. To skeptics, it's a cautionary tale, a mirror reflecting fear, attention, and the need to believe. But one truth is certain: the legacy of the Enfield poltergeist lives on, in books, in film, in whispered stories told in the dark. Because some mysteries never truly fade. They echo, they linger, and they wait.
Hello. Hello. Yeah. Margaret's sleeping and talking. Margaret's sleeping and talking. Margaret's sleeping and talking. Wow. Oh, sleep. It's about to go to sleep and it's talking. So, hello, lovers room talking. Janet, Margaret and Betty are all asleep and it's talking. I will